She stepped into the glass-walled conference room at Vortex Tech. The atmosphere turned frosty the instant she entered. No designer purse, no stilettos, no gleaming watch, just a quiet woman in worn flats, a simple ponytail, and a plain folder clutched tightly to her chest. The HR director raised an eyebrow and muttered just loud enough to cut. She looks like she raided a lost and found bin. A slick-haired man in a tailored suit, another candidate, jumped in without missing a beat. We're here for top talent, not charity cases. Snickers spread through the room. The panel barely glanced at her resume, their eyes scanning her like she was an error in the system. Someone muttered, "Who forgot to cancel her?" But Emily Carter stood firm, her expression steady, folder in hand. They had no idea who she was. They didn't know the man who built this company from nothing was her husband. Vortex Tech's Silicon Valley headquarters rose like a colossus, 50 floors of steel and glass, a tech empire that shaped the world. The 40th floor interview room was a nerve center. A long mahogany table, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the valley, screens buzzing with data. Emily, 30, walked in, her dark hair tied back in that ponytail, her green eyes bright yet soft. She was striking, her grace evident in every movement, but her thrift store outfit and scuffed flats branded her an outsider. Beneath her unassuming exterior was a mind that could shatter code like brittle glass and a resolve that never wavered. She'd fought through rounds of interviews for a leadership role, her nights spent perfecting systems that powered Vortex Tech's dominance. But they didn't see that. They saw a nobody in cheap clothes. The panel sat like a tribunal, 5 of them, suits crisp, faces colder than the glass walls. Susan Hayes, HR director, sat at the head, her navy blazer a warning, her blonde hair pulled tight. Michael Reed, senior executive, leaned back, his gold watch glinting, pins spinning in his hand. Ethan Walsh, 28, a trust fund kid, smirked in a suit that screamed wealth, his tie a flashy knot. Rachel Kim, data strategist, peered through rimless glasses, her lips a tight line. David Holt, operations lead, slouched with arms crossed, his crew cut catching the light. Hundreds had applied. Now it was Emily versus Ethan, but their glances said the battle was over before it began. Emily handed Susan her resume plain paper, no frills, just her name and a record of quiet victories. Susan took it, smirked, and passed it to Michael without looking. He flicked it back, scoffing. No need. The pages slid across the table, landing askew in front of Emily. No relevant experience, mediocre degree, wrong field, Susan said, her tone sharp as if Emily had insulted them by showing up. Emily straightened, her voice calm. I've spent 8 years building scalable systems. My last startup tripled its revenue with my architecture. I'm here because I can solve problems Vortex Tech hasn't even identified yet. Ethan burst out laughing. Scalable systems? What, like a food truck app? This isn't a sympathy hire. Susan smirked. She's delusional. Probably thinks a database is cutting edge. Rachel leaned forward. What's your degree? Sociology. Emily nodded slightly. Computer science, with a focus on AI ethics. I've published papers. David cut her off. Published? We don't need essays. We need results. You're out of your league. Emily tried again. My last project slashed processing times by Ethan interrupted. Spare us the fairy tales. No one's buying. Susan grabbed a marker and scrawled loser across Emily's resume, the ink bleeding as she sneered. That's your new title. Ethan hooted. Sign it. Frame it, while Michael clapped. A masterpiece of failure. The panel roared, phones out, recording the defaced pages. Emily stood still, ink smearing under her fingers as she held the paper, her flats rooted to the floor. She didn't break, her calm a shield against their cruelty. The venom spread. Susan tapped her pen. You're wasting our oxygen. Did you borrow that skirt from a thrift store? Michael chuckled. She's dressed for a yard sale. Where's the bargain bin? Ethan leaned back. Never seen a boardroom, have you? Maybe on TV. Their laughter echoed, sharp and vicious, a pack tightening the noose. Emily kept her composure. I'm here to discuss qualifications, not clothes. Susan rolled her eyes. Qualifications? Sweetie, you don't have any. Rachel smirked. Try retail. That's your speed. David grinned. Yeah, stick to the bottom. This is the big leagues, not a fundraiser. Rachel upped the stakes. She grabbed a stapler and fired it at Emily's papers, the metal teeth punching holes as she hissed. Let's shred the fantasy. David laughed. Swiss cheese resume. Susan smirked. Matches her empty head. The pages tore, staples scattering, and Emily bent to pick them up, her hands steady despite the sting. But Rachel kicked them off the table. Trash stays down. Emily's silence was a wall they couldn't breach. They didn't stop. Michael stood. Let's make it interesting. A surprise test. Logic and coding now. Pen and paper only. Prove you're not a fraud. He shoved a thick packet her way, 10 pages of problems, gnarled and brutal, designed to break even seasoned coders. Emily took it, hands steady. All right. She bent over the pages, her pen racing, equations, loops, and proofs flowing like she'd lived them. 5 minutes passed. Ethan yawned loudly. Susan scrolled her phone. Rachel muttered, she's scribbling gibberish. Emily slid the packet back. Done. Michael snatched it, glanced at a corner, then tore it in half, the rip echoing in the silence. He tossed it in the trash. Bare minimum. You're nowhere close. Total waste. Ethan took it further. He grabbed a water pitcher from the table and dumped it over Emily's head, the icy stream soaking her blouse and skirt as he jeered. Cool off, dreamer. Michael cackled. She's a drenched mess now. Rachel snapped a photo. Viral gold. Water dripped down Emily's face, pooling at her flats, but she didn't flinch, just stood there, her strength a flame they couldn't extinguish. Susan grabbed her phone. Security now? Intruder alert. Ethan laughed. Escort her out. She's a stain on this room. David smirked. Don't trip, sweetheart. 2 guards stormed in, black polos, badges gleaming. One gripped Emily's arm, the other yanked her folder. David escalated it. He snatched the folder from her hands and tore it to shreds, the scraps fluttering like confetti as he barked. No room for fakes here. Susan cheered. Rip her dreams apart. Ethan tossed a pen at her. Write your sob story somewhere else. The shredded papers hit the floor, Emily's work in tatters. She knelt to gather them, her fingers steady, but David stomped them into the carpet. Stay down, nobody. Her calm was a rock they couldn't crack. Move. One guard growled, dragging her to the door. Emily didn't resist, just walked, her flat silent, her face composed as Ethan shouted, the mailroom's hiring. The door slammed, their laughter seeping through as the elevator swallowed her. Humiliated, but her spine stayed straight. Michael sealed the ordeal, yanking a trash can from under the table and dumping it over Emily as the guards pulled her. Coffee grounds and crumpled paper rained down as he sneered. Here's where you belong. Rachel laughed. Garbage girl complete. Susan clapped. Perfect exit for a fraud. The mess clung to Emily's wet blouse, ground sticking to her hair. She shook it off, her flats slipping slightly, but she didn't break, just walked, her green eyes hard, their cruelty a storm she faced without flinching. It didn't end there. Susan leaned in as Emily passed, hissing, You're a joke. Go back to flipping burgers. Michael flicked a paperclip at her. Here's your bonus. Spend it wisely. It bounced off her shoulder, clattering to the floor. Ethan stood. Wait, let's give her a send-off. He grabbed a half-full coffee cup from the table, cold and brown, and splashed it across her blouse, the stain blooming fast. There's your Vortex Tech welcome, he jeered as Rachel clapped. Perfect. She's roasted now. Emily wiped her cheek, coffee dripping, but didn't flinch. She kept walking, the guards pulling harder. The lobby hit her like a slap marble gleaming, employees bustling, oblivious to the woman in a stained blouse being marched out. The guards didn't let up. One shoved her shoulder. Keep moving. The other tossed her folder into a bin by the exit. Don't come back, he barked as the glass doors swung open. Emily stepped into the sunlight, coffee soaking her shirt, resumed trashed, but her green eyes remained clear. She'd faced worse. Years of grinding, proving herself in rooms that rejected her. This wasn't about pride, it was about every person they'd crushed before her. She pulled out her phone, dialed Nathan. It's me. It went bad. His voice tightened. How bad? She told him, calm, no tears, the coffee, the test, the guards. I'm coming, he said. Now. Morning broke with a storm of its own. Vortex Tech's executive floor hummed with tension and emergency meeting, no warning, no mercy. Senior leaders filed into the boardroom, 30 of them, suits pressed, faces tight, shareholders lurking, a live feed streaming to investors worldwide. The room was a powder keg. The mahogany tables stretched endlessly, screens glowed, the valley sprawled below. Susan sat up front, blazer pristine. Michael twirled his pen. Ethan lounged, tie loose. Rachel adjusted her glasses. David checked his watch. They thought it was a power play promotions, raises, their moment to shine. Then the doors crashed open, and the world tilted. Nathan Pierce stormed in tall, 42, dark hair streaked with gray, black suit sharp as a blade, blue eyes cold as steel. The elusive CEO of Vortex Tech, a billionaire who'd risen from Nothinga trailer park kid coding on a borrowed computer, turning scraps into an empire that dominated the tech skyline. Feared in boardrooms from Tokyo to New York, he'd been a ghost for months, running things from the shadows. Everyone stood, chairs scraping, breaths caught. Beside him walked Emily, same stained blouse, same skirt, flats tapping softly, ponytail swaying, her green eyes unflinching. Faces paled. Michael's clattered. Ethan shrank. Rachel's glasses fogged. David choked. Nathan stopped, his voice deadly calm. Sit. They dropped like stones. He scanned them. I gave this team one job. Evaluate candidates for leadership so I could see who's ready to rise. But yesterday, you didn't interview a candidate. He paused, the silence ablaze, then turned to Emily. You insulted my wife. Gasps punctured the air. Susan's hand shook. Michael's jaw dropped. Ethan's chair squeaked as he curled in. Nathan stepped closer. Emily and I built Vortex Tech from nothing to broke kids. No sleep, no money. I handled the hardware. She crafted the AI. Every system you profit from, her mind's the foundation. You didn't just miss a resume. You humiliated the woman I love most. He pointed at Susan, Michael, Ethan, Rachel, and David. Repeat what you said yesterday. Now, to the board. The room choked. Susan stammered. Two didn't. Nathan cut her off. No dodging. Speak. A tech flicked the screen security footage, raw and loud. Susan's hiss. She looks like a student applying for a part-time job. Ethan's cackle. Janitorial services. Where's the mop? Michael's sneer. No experience. Wrong major. Rachel's jab. Try retail. David's quip. Out of her depth. Michael again. Dressed for a yard sale. Ethan's finale. Mailroom's hiring. The boardroom froze. Shareholders shifted. Investors glared through the feed. The words rang like a death knell. Susan's navy blazer was a shroud now, her marker a noose. She'd defaced the woman whose code powered their empire, and her hands shook as she faced the board, her smug hiss replayed for millions. Her career was a smoldering wreck. Michael's gold watch hung useless, his coffee splash a chain. He'd soaked the brain behind their profits, and the trash he dumped buried him, his name blacklisted to oblivion. Ethan's tailored suit sagged, his water dump a scar. He'd drenched the soul of Vortex Tech, and his family's connections slammed shut, his laughter a ghost as investors jeered. The screen burned their shame into history, every sneer, every jab, a nail in their coffins. Emily's quiet strength was their executioner. Nathan didn't flinch. You tore her test solved perfectly, faster than you could dream. You threw coffee. You called security. Say it again. Susan's lips quivered. I can't. Ethan stared at his shoes, mute. Michael rasped, mistake. Rachel whispered, we didn't know. David croaked, sorry. Nathan leaned in. Sorry's nothing. You showed me who you are, small, cruel, blind. Vortex Tech doesn't carry trash. He nodded to security, same guards, same polos. Take them. They're done. The room held its breath as the guards moved. Susan's blazer dragged. Michael's watch dangled. Ethan's tie flopped. Rachel's glasses slipped. David's crew cut bowed. The fallout was a wildfire. Susan, Michael, Ethan, Rachel, and David were fired on the spot, badges ripped, marched out as the board watched, shareholders nodding, investors typing furious notes. Rachel's glasses couldn't hide her fall, her staples a curse. She'd shredded the work of Vortex Tech as architect, and now her resume was the trash, her viral photos a stain as the industry shut her out. David's crew cut bowed low, his folder tearing a brand. He'd ripped apart the woman who built their world, and his stomp echoed as he hit rock bottom, begging beside Michael, while Emily's coin glinted in his palm. The boardroom's silence roared with their ruin. Every laugh, every cut, a boomerang that crushed them. Nathan's calm wrath and Emily's steady gaze were the gavel, their own words the rope that hanged them. Vortex Tech blacklisted them, their names torched across the industry. No firm would touch them. Resumes shredded, calls blocked, LinkedIn profiles dead. Susan's blazer hit a thrift rack. Michael's watch was pawned for rent. Ethan's family ties abandoned him. Rachel's glasses were sold for scraps. David's swagger crumbled to dust. Their titles, reputations, and lives erased in a moment, all for sneering at a woman they didn't see. 6 months later, rain pounded a downtown station. Commuters rushed, umbrellas snapping. Michael Reed slumped against a wall, once a Vortex Tech exec, now unshaven, coat tattered, a cardboard sign trembling in his hands. Please help. His watch was gone, his sneer a faint echo, his fingers shaking in the cold. Heels clicked. Emily, hair still in that ponytail, now in a charcoal coat, her presence a quiet storm. She'd just keynote at an AI ethics summit, her voice shaping the future while his fell apart. She paused, reached into her pocket, and pulled out a quarter. Shiny, cold, and dropped it into his palm. It gleamed. The man who'd torn her test now clutched her coin. She met his eyes, a faint smile flickering, then walked on, flats tapping steadily, her strength a silent thunder. That coin wasn't pity, it was justice, cold and sharp. Emily didn't need to shout. She let their own rot bury them. She'd forged Vortex Tech's heart, and they'd spat on it until Nathan turned their world to ash. Now she stood taller while they sank low, a lesson carved in their fall.